Hello, this is Charles Brittingham on the Charles Brittingham Show, right here on News Talk 1450 WILM. I'm sitting here now with a very special guest that's come to Wilmington to share some good news with you people out there in the community. Mr.
Mr. Linwood Jackson, and we are here, ladies and gentlemen, with Mr. Bill Shields, who is the advisor to three-time world champion Mr. Reggie Johnson, and who is in the studios with us today as well. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you doing today?
Great. Doing fine. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for taking time out of your busy schedule because I know you're going around the city today, maybe the state, and introducing yourselves to a lot of people. This is really great. It's my first time meeting you in person. I've seen you on TV a few times. And, of course, I met Mr. Shields the other day. He blessed us with coming on our TV show to give us advance notice of what we're going to do here. Gentlemen, I know you have different plans on I looked at some of your schedule going around town. It's a busy schedule. I noticed that you went to the Sunday breakfast mission today.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
To meet and greet the people out there. I guess it's really wonderful so that people can see you guys in person, live, and what's going on. Well, Mr. Johnson, can I call you Reggie?
Yeah, just call me Reggie.
Yeah, I gotta ask.
Okay.
I'm one of them kind of people in the world, Reggie, that thinks that the only thing we really own in this world is our name. So I try to give respect to somebody's name, and I won't call them by their first name unless they grant it to me.
Right.
Because that's the way I feel.
Okay.
And I don't know, call it the civil rights part of me. I don't know, but that's what it is. But I'm very pleased to meet you here. And as Linwood said before, you out there, you've been doing things. Can you give us an idea, very briefly, on what got you into boxing?
Well, my uncle, Kenneth Lineman Walker, who was a amateur boxer at the Salvation Army Boys Club, took me to the Boys Club with him one day and put me in the ring for the first time, put a pair of gloves on me, and that day I found my niche. My uncle and the guy who went on to become my boxing coach and mentor, the late Mr. James Carter, knew that I had something that was special. And, in a sense, I knew too, but I was a young kid, 12 years old. I just knew that I had found something that I knew that I was good at, and I loved doing it. I had a passion for it the first day I put gloves on. It all started from there. My mother, who didn't want me to box at 12.
Afraid you get hurt?
Right. Well, pretty much, it's a mom, her kid, 12-year-old kid. But during that time, my dad was incarcerated during these times.
Okay.
Didn't have that to go to guy at that particular time. That's why my uncle stepped in, who was pretty young himself. He stepped in and took me to the Boys Club, met Mr. James Carter, the late Mr. James Carter.
Hurricane Carter?
Not Hurricane Carter. Not Hurricane Carter, but Mr. James Carter. And my mom didn't want me fighting. I was getting into trouble, acting out, And one of the deals was Mr. Carter stayed on my mother, and one of the deals was, she came to the point, I'll let him box, but he's going to do this. So her and Mr. Carter struck a deal. This is after probably like the gazillion time that he went to her, and she said, no, my son ain't boxing. So the thing was for me to do better in school, cut out the fighting. And Mr. Carter convinced him one day, I'm telling you, if you let this kid box, it's going to give him structure. He's going to be a better kid. And, the rest is history. It all started from there. Yeah, the rest is history.
Your mother found out that instead of you getting hurt, you was hurting other people.
Well, yeah. Well, especially when I got to the point of getting checks,
Yeah.
I think that's when she knows she made the right decision. Yeah.
Well, we're all glad that you made that decision, Reggie. I tell you, you came a long way from the 5th Ward of Houston to becoming world champion in the middleweight and the light heavyweight division of the world, man. We appreciate all of that. I know you got there's a lot of fighters coming out of Houston, and I can name you a couple of them. I know Jesse James, Lael, Terry Norris, Paulie Yale. How do you pronounce those Hispanic names? They kill me.
Paulie Ayala.
Ayala.
Yeah.
Big George Foreman, our good friend, and I know we're going to give a shout-out to my man, boxing trainer Harry Thomas, a good friend of both of ours. And but, you know, how long have you been out of the game of boxing, Reggie?
Well, my last fight was in 2008, February of 2008. I fought the late Julio Gonzalez. You know, he was killed in a car wreck at the age of 35, had wife, 2 kids. That was my last fight. It was a world title fight in which I won, was successful in winning a 3rd world title. Those fighters that you've just mentioned are not all from Houston, but they are from Texas.
Right.
Right. Okay.
And I tell you, we missed you in the game, Reggie, man. You're a great champion, and we're glad that you're back on the scene. Now, you know, a lot of your fans, we want to know what you've been up to. We've been missing you, man. I understand you had some legal issues. Would you care to share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, I'll touch on that, but won't go deep into the details. But, yes, I had shortly after my fight, 3 months afterwards, I was arrested for a theft charge dealing with the noted organization who gave me a check, put the check in my hands, but later come back and said that I was supposed to do a summer boxing camp in year 2007 when I was told to that I could do it in 2008. And, you know, you asked me, did I want to talk about this? I said yes, because these things have to be addressed. This is the reason why our corrupt system get away with so much, because we don't address it. And I'm gonna make this short and sweet. But the deal is, why would you give me a check? Keep in mind, this is a summer camp. Why would you give me a check in October of 2007, which means what? The summer is over with, if you didn't tell me I couldn't do the camp in 2008. So you see what I'm saying? But all this is hard evidence that I have in my legal package that wasn't presented at my kangaroo trial. I was sentenced to 12 years. Did a 3 years, 6 months, 3 days as an innocent man, and I say that boldly, knowing that I could have came home 2.5 years earlier if I would have signed guilty papers, but I refused to sign guilty paper, being an innocent man, and all that I had hanging in the balance.
Right, and from what I understand, the things that you're accused of doing never even materialized, and so, but we'll leave that up to the legal world, and
right.
I know you're going to handle your business on that end. But we wanted to get that out there because we know it's on a lot of the fans' minds. Reggie, you're a great champion, a great man. Everybody who knows you knows that, and we just wanted to get that out there. You know, that's one of the questions we have. On our online, I know you're online as well, the Facebook and Twitter, and we asked our listeners if they had any questions.
Okay.
And so I'll tell you, man, they've been bringing them in, and that was one of them, of course.
Okay.
We know that you're coming out. You haven't fought in a while, and you're coming back in the scene. What brings you here to Delaware?
Well, first and foremost, my brain trust, one of my brain trusts, Mr. Bill Shields, DM, I call him, the deal maker, is based here. I see a lot of opportunity. I've had fights. I won my first world title on the East Coast. I fought in Jersey twice, but I've never really did high-end business here. And I see a lot of opportunity. I know a lot of great boxing fans are here. Come on, we got New Jersey, New York, especially in the Wilmington area. I see a lot of opportunity would be the perfect place to come in and kind of like establish boxing.
Well, that's good. We appreciate you stopping into Delaware. You're absolutely right. We are a small mecca. And you mentioned Mr. Bill Shields, your advisor. How long have you guys been working together?
Well, actually, if my memory serves me right, keep in mind I get hit on the head for a living. But I think I know for certain I met DM at the International Boxing Hall of Fame, upstate New York, in 2006. I think it was during the same time I met you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're gonna come back to that. We're gonna get ready to take a break in a minute here, but keep in mind I get hit on the head a lot. I like that because I know when I get on the head, I forget everything.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. You're listening to the Brittingham Show right here on News Talk 1450. We'll be right back after the short but important matches. And we are back. You're listening to the Charles Brittingham Show right here on News Talk 1450 WILM. And I got two special guests in the studio with me this evening, and we're talking to Mr. Bill Shields. He's the business advisor of three-time world boxing champion Reggie Johnson. And, of course, we have Mr. Johnson in the studio. As you know, he's a three-time world champion. And I'm just elated, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sitting there, man. If I was a little high school boy, I'd be melting in my chair. These guys are fantastic. They're role models in my book. And, gentlemen, let's pick back up where we left off before we went on break. The last time we spoke on this issue was talking about how long have you and Bill been associates, and the answer was roughly 6 years. So let's pick up from there.
Bill Shields. What weight are you guys fighting at?
Well, Reggie's, the last two title fights that he won was his light heavyweight, and he's going to remain at light heavyweight, 175 pounds. And, of course, that's a very active division today with Bernard Hopkins winning the world title twice as the oldest man in history to do so, once at 46, which he surpassed George Foreman, and then also about a little less than 3 months ago when he beat previously undefeated Tavares Cloud in Brooklyn to win yet another world title at the age of 48.
That's right. So Reggie fighting at light heavyweight, he would be the guy to go after Mr. Bernard Hopkins, who's one of the title holders. The other one would be Mr. Chad Dawson. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's some other people lining up that want to fight Reggie for some reason, and we're not going to pay their doctor bills, but we're going to see if we can give them their wish.
Well, that's interesting because one of our fans who called in on our Facebook page, Miss Julianne, she would like to know who would your first opponent be, Reggie, or who would you like for your first opponent to be?
Well, that's still hanging in the balance, but me personally, I'm not starting a career. I've never left the ring. I've never in my career retired. I'm just coming back to deal with unfinished business. I would like to go right at these guys. I'm not looking to fight. In boxing they call them ducks. I would like the first fight to be somebody in the top 10, top 5, whoever. Once I get that first fight out the way, I'll fight anybody who'll sign the dotted line with the business being right.
Absolutely. You're looking for somebody in the top 5 to get back in there. What do you fight, 1 or 2 preliminary fights and going for the belt?
Well, I don't, I'm one of them guys. I've been around a while, and I know that world titles are won in preparation in the boxing gym. I get young, hungry, up-and-coming fighters as sparring partners, and they serve as my tune-up. So, like I said, I've done it before, and I'll do it again. Came back off a 2-year layoff, beat Julio, who was number 5 in the world. Came back and beat the number 15 guy after being laid off for 3 years, 8 months. So, and I did that through young, hungry sparring partners who got me ready.
I know that's right. Hey, Reggie, we got another question from a guy named G Money from Philadelphia.
G
Money from Philly. He wants to know who would you like for your trainer to be?
Well, it's not a matter who that I like. My chief trainer, Manuel Chato Robles, died in 2007. He was my chief trainer, but I've always worked with a lot of well-noted trainers. But Jesse Reed, man, I'm still trying to figure out why come this man is not in the International Boxing Hall of Fame as a trainer. But he's my man. I've never lost a fight with this man in my corner, and he had. Man, you run out of fingers when you try to count the world champions that this man is reared to world titles. So Jesse Reed, who lives in Southern California, is my chief trainer.
Right now?
Right now.
That's good, Reggie. You're absolutely right. You mentioned the Hall of Fame, and we're going to talk about that later on in the program. But another question comes to mind, and that's like where – I know you've trained all over the world. Mm-hmm. Throughout your professional boxing career. Where would you like to train at during your comeback? Houston, Pennsylvania, or Delaware, or anywhere in particular?
Well, like I said, I'm really focused on the East Coast, but I do have to be humble and get in line with the program to accomplish the mission. Philadelphia, right here in Wilmington, but you got to keep in mind, I got to get in line with wherever I can get the best sparring. I have a plethora of places I can go: Southern California, West Coast, East Coast, Dallas, Texas. But I'm kind of like focused on the East Coast, and Wilmington is high on the list.
Absolutely. Now when you're in training for an upcoming fight, any fight in this case, but you're in training for an upcoming fight, how do you get sparring partners? I mean, is there a group that's out there already, or you just get local guys who's starting out boxing and you ask them to be sparring partner? I mean, how do you get a sparring partner?
Well, I mean, at this stage, you got to get experienced guys who know what they're doing. It's a lot of stuff to go into this, the thought process. You got to get guys who can pretty much mimic the guy that you're fighting.
Yes.
And you want tough, durable guys. You don't want guys that you can beat up every day. You want guys that's going to push you to the next level. So that's why I focus on young, hungry guys. But those guys got to be picked due to them being able to mimic or have the same style that the guy that you're preparing for.
And that's wonderful too. Because I notice other people in other sports, that's what they say too. Mm-hmm. I'm a track guy. And I know that when we run in certain distances, you what you call a rabbit. You get a rabbit out there. Right. Somebody can really blaze a track up, and he sets the pace.
Right, exactly.
And the same thing if you do sprints. You got to have somebody right behind you that's going to push you. Because I fell into that trap, Reggie. Mm-hmm. Where I was rehearsing, training with guys that didn't want to do crap. And I was always coming up on top. Then when I got to the big dance, I got my shoes handed to me, so to speak.
Right.
Only because I wasn't pushing myself. So I can only imagine what a boxer goes through. Mm-hmm. Because one mistake in the ring could be your last fight, right?
Right. Well, absolutely. Think about it. If you hire sparring partners so you can have the media coming in and watch you beat these guys up every day, like you said, when the big night come, the real fight come.
Yeah. You're not pushed hard enough.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, Bill, anything?
Yeah, I would just like to, the champ doesn't brag on himself. That's up to me to do. But what I like to do is let the listeners know about the belts he's won. Now, he has won 3 world belts, but he's won a bunch of other ones, if I can list them.
Yes.
1989, Reggie won the WBA Intercontinental Middleweight belt. 1990, he won the USBA Middleweight belt. 1992, the WBA World Middleweight belt. 1998, he won the IBF World Light Heavyweight belt. In 2001, he won the USBA Light Heavyweight belt as well as the NABF Light Heavyweight belt. And in 2008, he won the IBA World Light Heavyweight belt. That's significant accomplishments. And, I just wanted to express that to the listeners, that it's not just 3 world belts, but it's a whole bunch of other ones as well. That's
really great, man. That's really great. I've had the opportunity before even knowing you, knowing your name as a household name, to see you actually, fight. Well, I was on, TV, of course, and to see you fight, and I'm like, man, this guy can punch. Right. I did because, like I say, I started looking at different guys with their different styles, and I said, man, wouldn't it be nice if you can get candidate A to fight candidate B? That would be a good fight. But knowing the administration part of that, I know it's a whole lot of work that goes into who's going to do. It's a chess game, basically. Who's going to do what, when, who's going to be, this and that. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, champ, it is amazing. And you talked about some unfinished business earlier. And when we come back off a break, we'd like for you to elaborate on some of that a little bit, because I know you fought some great champions, some Hall of Famers, and some think that you should be in the Hall of Fame yourself. Actually, you're heading in that direction. Some of the names, the fighters you fought, come to mind: Roy Jones Jr., John Jackson, Steve Collins, Antonio Tarver. But when we come back off the break, we'd like for you to talk about that. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, after a short message.
You're listening to the Charles Brittingham Show right here on News Talk 1450 WILM or www.wilm.com. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you can hear me anywhere. You know why? Because I'm the hardest working man on radio on Sunday night. And we are back. I got my co-host with me, my dear friend, Mr. Linwood Jackson, and we're sitting here talking to two very special guests. We had a great program so far, Linwood. Our special guest is Bill Shields. He's the business advisor of three-time world boxing champ Reggie Johnson. And we're also sitting here with Mr. Reggie Johnson himself, three-time world boxing champion. And it was brought to our attention, Linwood, that not only are those three belts he has several other belts that he was involved with that should be mentioned as well. Bill, you want to give us an idea of that? One more time?
Yep. Reggie started winning the belts in 1989, and that's when he won the WBA Intercontinental middleweight belt. In 1990, the USBA middleweight belt. 1992, the WBA World Middleweight Belt. 1998, the IBF World Light Heavyweight Belt. 2001, the USBA and the NABF Light Heavyweight Belt. And then in 2008, the IBA World Light Heavyweight Belt. So there are quite a few.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, Bill, now you're Reggie's business advisor. Do you advise any other boxers or any other celebrities in your management?
I do not. I'll give you a quick story on my involvement business-wise with Reggie Johnson. For 31 years, I was in industry and working in plastics manufacturing. And I had a variety of different jobs in the companies as I moved up the line, and began to travel for the companies and move around and develop business and grow each and every company I worked for. And then eventually I ended up as vice president of an international plastics manufacturing company and operating in North America, the U.S. headquarters in North America. And then with my connections around the world and my connections with handling money, setting events up, presentations, of things of that sort. Reggie and I talked, and Reggie really encouraged me over and over and over again to work on his team as somebody that could help him in those areas that I was strong in, and so I agreed. And that's what my fit is. People call me all the time and they say, Bill, you spent 31 years in the plastics industry. Where does boxing come in? Well, the people that knew me on a more personal level knew that 36 years ago I boxed. Of course, my career was very short. I didn't have the talent that Reggie Johnson has. And I went on from there. And I took a variety of different studies in martial arts and always kept in shape and on the sideline and involved with sports. And followed the boxers, met the boxers up at the Boxing Hall of Fame, and established a relationship with Reggie. When I would travel around the country, particularly if I was going to Texas, I'd call Reggie on the phone. I'd say, hey, I'm coming down. He'd come over to the hotel and pick me up. We'd go out to dinner or vice versa. And so that's the fit with me. I did want to mention a little bit about Reggie's family background. And, for Reggie to have chosen the career path that he has is not a real mistake. He's a fifth-generation blood cousin to Jack Johnson. Now, Jack Johnson was dubbed the Galveston Giant. And for those of you that don't know exactly who Jack Johnson was, Jack was the first black African-American heavyweight boxing champion of the world. That Jack Johnson. Reggie also has blood cousins to other professional boxers such as Golden Johnson and Star Johnson. So the fact, and his uncle, Kenneth Iron Man Walker, was an excellent amateur boxer, although he made a decision not to go pro. but he encouraged Reggie, as you heard earlier in the show, and Reggie did indeed decide to go pro, and we're glad that he did.
Absolutely. We appreciate that brief history. I didn't know, man, you're going way back to Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion of the world. They're going champions back in those days. Reggie, you had in life, we all face our ups and downs in the real world. You just talked about your legal battles, in that area. And I know you had your battles in the ring as well, fighting some of the top boxers in the world throughout your career. And I know when you went to Argentina, for an example, you lost two very hotly disputed decisions with Mr. George Castro over there in Argentina. You went to his backyard, and, of course, we all know how that goes. You also lost to James Toney after knocking him down with one of the meanest left hooks, man, of the 90s back in them days. But then you had some wins, some great wins as well. I know you came in, you knocked out Godfrey, Wilmington's own, as a matter of fact. He's from Delaware, William Godfrey, who was the light heavyweight champ in the world. You knocked him out in the 5th round with a right hook. I mean, can you give us some of your thoughts on those fights?
Well, let me go a little bit before that. Like, as an amateur kid, one of the things I learned very early, don't quit, don't stop. A lot of people don't know this. I lost my first 4 amateur fights. I lost my first fight. I got disqualified for slapping. But I was passionate about what I was doing. And I kept it up. When I won that first fight, I think I was high up in the nationals fighting on that level. So it's always been don't quit. So, I was kind of like reared and geared to deal with situations like that. I remember one year living in the, fighting in the nationals in Colorado Springs, and I lost to the number 1 guy, Dennis Milton. And I remember in this big arena, I went all the way up to the top and just sit there and cried like a baby because I was so hurt, and I felt I could have done better. And but even with that, I put that behind me, and I've always have something in me to just move forward, no matter how things turned out, no matter what the odds were. My thing was to move forward. Linwood mentioned about me having 2 losses in Argentina. You forgot about the first loss in Argentina. 2 Americans fighting in Argentina, John David Jackson. That fight was in Argentina. 2 Americans fighting for the middleweight championship of the world in Argentina. We're not going to talk about the politics in that, but still, you move forward. Yeah. John David Deal, who I hired him as a sparring partner when I was getting ready for the light heavyweight title, told me, he said, well, listen, man, these people told me all I got to do is be standing, and I win the fight. But he did a deal to go back and fight Castro. Now, him knowing what they did with me in his fight, he didn't go. So what they do to John David Jackson, they stripped him of the title. So that's how I ended up going back to fight Castro, not once, but twice. But, the whole deal is, you got to, what you going to do? Just go bury yourself in a hole? No, you fall down, you get knocked down, you get up, and you move forward. Because what comes with all that moving forward, beating the odds, it builds character. So it's just in me to just move forward. The whole world can tell me no, but till the creative days whisper in my ear and say no, that's when Reggie Johnson stopped.
Wow, that's some great advice, ladies and gentlemen, coming from world champion light heavyweight Mr. Reggie Johnson. The lesson learned, I suppose, is, we get knocked down in life. We're going to get knocked down. We're going to take the blows, but the strong survive. You get back up and you keep on punching, and one day you'll be champion as well in whatever it is that you're pursuing, in whatever career that you're going to. Reggie, man, those were some mean. You threw a mean right and knocked out Godfrey. The left took Toney out for the first time in his career. You brought him down, man. I just got to thank you. We commend you, man, for being a world-class champion. We're going to talk about your hopes in getting into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I know you'll be going up on Friday. I'll be going up on Thursday. Actually, that'll be past. Anyway, and we're going to talk about that coming up. You fought some battles, and what you're going to do when you get back into the ring. I know you're going for the oldest to become the oldest champion in the world, and to breaking that record as well. Britt, you got anything? I know we're getting ready to go on break. As a matter of fact, we'll be right back after this. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Charles Brittingham Show on News Talk Radio 1450 WILM. And you can listen to us on the internet as well, WILM.com, 1450 News Talk Radio. Now, we're having a great show today. Earlier, we were talking to Miss Leona from a great dance instructor, talk to us a little bit about salsa dancing. And, I'll tell you guys, I look at dance as a form of self-expression, an art for you to express yourself to the world. And boxing, to me, is the same, except through offensive and defensive moves. Instead of expressing yourselves through the music and sounds, boxers react to the movements of rhythm and the rhythm of their opponents. Each fight is like a dance, and like singers sing the same song, it's never performed the same way twice. Now, I have a question for you, Britt, and to our guest today. What does Layla Ali, Evander Holyfield, Victor Ortiz, Floyd Mayweather, and Sugar Ray Leonard have in common? Okay, I'm going to cut through the chase. We all know that they're boxers. We all know that they're world champions. But did you guys know that they all started on Dancing with the Stars in their respective careers? Now, it ain't easy learning the sweet science, but I don't know if our guests are dancers on the dance floor, but I do know they're great dancers in the ring. So today we were talking to Sweet Reggie Johnson. And Reggie, do you dance, bro?
Well, unfortunately, no. I'm not a dancer. Back in my club days, I used to go there to just meet beautiful women, hang out with my boys. But I don't drink, don't smoke, don't dance. So
All right, now, because dancing, it brings balance and footwork and perfection. Right. And it is self-expression, and a lot of lessons that we can learn in sports, like with runners and football players as well. So we've got to get you on the dance floor, man, and show you some of those salsa moves that Leona was giving us earlier. We do have some other questions. Now, in the technology world today, how is it? What are some of the challenges that boxers face today in this technology world, in the advent of Facebook and Twitter and all of that? Are you on any of those sites?
Well, yes, I'm on Facebook. Reggie Sweet Johnson on Facebook. World Champion Time 3 at Twitter. I really don't see any negatives. I mean, as far as it's helping the sport and boxers themselves, it gives you a platform. I know me personally, I sell a lot of my memorabilia overseas, and most of my people come from Facebook and Twitter. So, and then it connects you to the world. So, me personally, I love it. I think the technology with these social websites are amazing, and you have access to the world when you really think about it.
It is worldwide.
Worldwide.
It is worldwide, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, Bill, I got a question for you from one of the fans, Carolyn. She wants to know, are boxing fans as loyal today as they were when fighters like Muhammad Ali were boxing?
Well, the fan base is, I'll say, more open-minded. And the reason why I say that is because back in my day, growing up, there was only one, and that was boxing. If you wanted to see some martial arts, you had to go to a regional tournament, or you had to go to a world tournament or something like that. It was really not on television and promoted in the way that it is today. So today, some of the younger fans will look at both boxing and MMA. And even I'll look at MMA from time to time, and I see the distinct differences between boxing and martial arts. I have had 4 studies. My first was in boxing, although I confessed earlier that I didn't go anywhere with it because I didn't have the championship ability. But I have to tell you that of the 4 studies that I've had, my number one most demanding study was boxing. I was in the best physical shape boxing as any of the others. So guys like me that are older than 21, older than 40, we are probably more. I know I'm on the north side of 50. I'll have to.
All right, we get ready to say, Bill, we got our eye on you, buddy.
But the sports that I grew up with and my era grew up with was boxing, and the younger ones coming up behind us, they're looking at boxing and MMA as well.
All right, and with technology out there today, it's easier for the young folks to keep up with the fighters. Again, we can get on Reggie Johnson's Facebook page and buy some of his signed autograph boxing gloves and pictures and stuff. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And I'll tell you, Reggie, back to the Hall of Fame. I think you got some pretty good chances, man. They got Barry Maguire. He's been voted into the Hall of Fame. And you, Reggie, have fought a lot more champions who are future Hall of Famers themselves. We got to give a shout out to Ed Brothy up there at Canastota, New York, who's doing a fabulous job with the Hall. I know a lot of ladies are up there this year, and you coming back for a feat of tackling your fourth world title. And as the oldest champion, if we can reach that goal, you should be ready to get into the International Boxing Hall of Fame if the politics don't mess you up, man. Like, we got our ups and downs in life, but Reggie, you're a true champion, man. What are your thoughts on that? Would you care to share with us a little bit about your thoughts on the International Boxing Hall of Fame?
Well, I try not to extend a lot of energy, but, my first time going to the Hall of Fame in 2005, I mean, I can't see anybody who has anything to do with boxing going there and leaving there without having a different mindset of just whatever they specialize in within the arena of the sport, taking it to the next level. So, of course, this is what I do. Who wouldn't want to be in the Hall of Fame, especially if you're a fighter? But once again, you got to, be humble about it and say, well, what will be, will be. You just go and keep it like it's always been. I'm passionate about boxing. I love boxing, and I see some opportunities. This is not a comeback. This is a get back. I'm coming back to extend. You set goals, you accomplish goals, and what you do, you go out and set more goals. So I like to send a shout out to Ed Brophy, him and the board of the Hall of Fame. They're doing a great job, and I know it's a hard job because think about all the great fighters. You're talking about fighters all over the world, man. So, how do you pick and choose? But you know what? It can be justified because there's so many fighters. Reggie Johnson not being in the Hall of Fame. But you can't justify my chief trainer, Jesse Reed. This man has worked with over 50 world champions. You can't justify this man not being in the Hall of Fame. So I'm an advocate. I'm an advocate for that. And, if Jesse Reed's in, Reggie Johnson is in, because we're attached to each other.
Now the Hall of Fame, since I'm new to this particular arena, when do they start selecting people for the Hall of Fame? I mean, what is the process? Do the community vote on that? The public vote on that? I mean, how does one get into the Hall of Fame? I'm
gonna be honest with you. I don't know the process, but I mean, there's a certain time they come out and just announce who's being
they start working on that immediately after the last year inductees go in. There's a panel of writers and historians throughout the world. Reggie, real quick, what do you think about the state of boxing today, and particularly Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao? I know you're a Mayweather fan. It just so happens I'm a Pacquiao fan. What do you think on that?
Well, I'm a fan of them both. Keep in mind, I'm a fighter as well. Those guys are great for the sport. Manny Pacquiao, who was, really beaten Juan Marquez, got caught with one punch, and I was kind of upset with the way these people did the man on what you call it. This man, and kind of like carried the sport, him and Mayweather. The whole thing. People hyped up about them fighting each other.
Do you think they'll get to fight each other, Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather?
Only time will tell, but I kind of think they missed a grand opportunity to really put history in the mark. I think they should have, the promoters, they're playing games. I think those guys should have fought a little early. I don't think it'd have the same effect.
I think so too. You're right on point, ladies and gentlemen. We're sitting here with one of the world's greatest boxing champions in the middleweight and the light heavyweight division, along with his trainer, Mr. Bill Shields. Guys, we want to thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing with us. We'll be right back after this message.
We'll see you next week with some